What do you get when you mix ghost hunting with found footage horror? Nothing good, but Grave Encounters. Grave Encounters is an interesting little film from 2011 that I remember fondly. I think someone thought it would be funny to create a found footage horror movie full of all the common tropes while making fun of TV shows about ghost hunting, such as Ghost Hunters or Ghost Adventures or whatever other bad ghost hunting fake TV shows there are on television. The only one I truly have to bring up by name, though, is Ghost Adventures, because the main character of the first Grave Encounters movie, Lance Preston, is the perfect parody of Zach Bagans from Ghost Adventures. The biggest problem with this first film is, though, it never quite focuses on a singular idea to make it effective. The movie just sort of plays on an idea for the first half, and then in the second half tries a completely new one out, and it feels like a pieced together mess. So, let's talk about it. By the way, spoiler warnings for Grave Encounters and the sequel, Grave Encounters 2. I'll be going over both films, so if you don't want to see that, then go watch it. Or don't. Probably say don't. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's get into Grave Encounters and its strange mixture of parody, mockumentary, horror, and comedy. Why am I making a video about Grave Encounters all these years after it came out? Well, during a recent video, I brought it up by name for some reason, and I remembered this film. So I thought I'd go back and watch it. After watching it, We'll get into that, but I saw there was a sequel. I have never seen the sequel. I only remember watching Grave Encounters 12 years ago by now. I thought it would be a fun chance to revisit this and go check out the sequel for the first time.
What you're about to see is not a movie, okay? This has been assembled from some 76 plus hours of raw mini DV source footage that was shot for Lance's show. Not a frame of this has been doctored. It hasn't been manipulated in any way. This is just raw footage, been edited strictly for time.
After seeing one of the biggest tropes in found footage horror of a fellow explaining that everything we're about to see is real, we get to meet the characters that this film follows. A group of paranormal investigators recording a television show. It's during this brief introduction where we get the real resemblance to Ghost Adventures.
My name is Lance Preston. When I was a boy, my family moved into a house that I soon discovered was haunted. The things I encountered have stayed with me forever. Ever since then, I have been obsessed with trying to capture proof that these things were real. Come along with me and my team of skilled paranormal investigators as we dare to venture into some of the most haunted locations known to man. It's time to have some grave encounters.
I mean, during the time that this film came out, before that, all these television shows about ghost hunting were coming out, and they were really blowing up around the time of 2011, 2010. I don't think the directors were just trying to poke fun at Ghost Adventures or Zach Bagans himself, but the parallels to this intro and Lance Preston's character to Zach Bagans are stark. This brings an immediate sense of humor to the movie, and caught me off guard, because I didn't really think I'd laugh as much as I did at this movie. It's then explained to us that they are recording episode 6 of their television show at this asylum. They give it a name. I don't remember it because all that kind of gets thrown in its head in the second movie. So it's a haunted asylum. Wow, spooky. Who would have thought? You'd go ghost hunting in a place with all these horrors. Just what you would expect out of a haunted asylum. It's long been abandoned, and it has a questionable past. Overpopulation, an evil head doctor with a strange German last name.
Arthur Friedkin? His story is probably the most infamous about this hospital.
Sure. Figured that you were going to ask me that. Friedkin was a Harvard-trained neurologist who was head physician here from 1937 to 1948. He was a major advocate of the lobotomy.
Performing lobotomies and weird experiments on the people that lived there, or were imprisoned there. Ooh. It's after learning about the asylum we're going to visit that the movie goes down the path you'd expect it to. This crew goes and interviews people that are like groundskeepers and shit for this asylum. You get the funny moments where the people they're interviewing have obviously never been on camera, especially for something as, in 2011, important as a television show. So they're like really awkward, haha. And they also go over the history of the location with some experts in the area and learn about the hot spots inside of the asylum. After learning about the location and talking to a few of the people around it, we get to learn about the real intentions of the cast.
I'm shooting a TV show here. I was just wondering if you want to do a quick interview with us.
I'm standing here with the resident gardener, Javier Ortega. Javier, have you ever noticed anything strange around the building?
No, not really.
Just cut for a second. Okay, how about you make something up for the camera? Pretend you saw something. That was 20 bucks, Sam. Javier, have you ever seen anything strange in the past 10 years of working here?
Yeah, I saw a ghost over here. It was really scary.
It's after seeing the true motives of our characters that they finally begin their little ghost hunting adventure. Ghost adventures? Oh, fuck me.
Oh,
Oh,
death
God.
awaits. I guess
High
we'll
school
find
kids.
out.
That is so lame.
Looks pretty cheesy, dude.
Yeah, I
With
don't
slow
like that.
motion, music behind it, everything's creepy.
It turns out when you make a movie where the first half is exploring our characters who are just parody, it's a really shallow pool. Your characters are parodies of people you'd see on TV, so they don't really have any development or character. It becomes very predictable and formulaic. Like when we see a psychic medium come in, and he's working with the Grave Encounters crew, I guess he's a part of it, and he obviously is faking what he's doing and playing it up for the camera, as all of them are. You can tell how jaded all the characters are to this idea of ghost hunting already, just 5 episodes in. This, of course, gets flipped on its head when the activity here starts to happen. We'll get into that. Anyway, if you've seen any of these TV shows, you know exactly what they're going to make fun of, and that creates sort of a problem because the best part of this film is the humor and them making fun of ghost hunting television shows, ghost hunting in general, really, because the scares in this film aren't really there. Unless you're sort of looking at them as a product of their time, they do kind of hold up in a nostalgic way, kind of like that early mid to late 2000s jump scare era of YouTube. Anyway, during the little tour, I noticed something funny about one of the characters that they were talking to. He's like the groundskeeper, caretaker, I don't know what you'd call them. Sounded like during this, so let's get into the location that they're at. They're supposed to be hunting ghosts at a place in Maryland, but the caretaker there has a strange accent that I picked up on. It's one of those northern accents, that, "Hey, bud, how you doing there? Sorry," kind of accent. And I was all like, wait, is this guy a transplant from Minnesota or Canada? So I decided to look it up, bud. And you can't trick me, movie. This movie was fucking shot in Canada. Of course, they try to take this and play around with it in the next movie. Oh yeah, they had a fake location and it was actually in Canada. But come on, man, that guy's accent was so blatant.
I lock it up real good at night. Come back in the morning. Sometimes this thing's wide open. What? Yeah, I can't figure it out. Something's trying to get out or something.
Canadians wanting to be Americans aside, and don't get on to me about healthcare or whatever you Canadians truly care about. Have you guys tried freedom? The Ghost crew ends up finishing their little tour. Here we get a fun little twist on what happens, which is straight out of Ghost Adventures, I think. I think they do this in Ghost Adventures. The caretaker comes and locks them inside the building for the night. They're stuck there. They have to ride it out. The crew goes around setting up cameras and microphones or whatever the hell they use for ghost hunting all around the building, and it's here where the medium shows up, being completely full of shit.
Oh, there's such an incredible energy here. It's like hundreds of voices all talking at once. The sound is deafening. Our spirit is still with us.
Cut it. Yeah. That was great.
Okay, was that too much?
No.
Come on.
No,
Guys.
no, that was great. That sounded really real.
The horror begins when night kind of truly falls and one of the camera guys is going around alone for some reason. Something spooky happens and a door slams behind him. When the group all shows up because he's all freaking out, then we get another bit that is definitely more provable paranormal activity. Let's get into this. Weird camera glitch happens with a loud sound, but then we see the girl's hair get pulled, which is straight out of Paranormal Activity that came out a few years before. I'm sure this has been done in countless horror films, but I felt like they were either trying to pay homage to another found footage horror film or maybe stealing this. Not sure which one. Other than that, though, there are some other funny parallels I noticed between this and Ghost Adventures, in that after Lance Preston and his crew starts witnessing paranormal activity, they're trying to egg it on to get it out to come out, asking questions, doing EVP sessions, blah, blah, blah. When they don't get anything else, Lance Preston, he decides to start almost antagonizing the spirits, trying to get them to do some ghouly hijinks. Aw, come on, you ghost, are you afraid? Are you a pussy ghost? Stuff like that. We could pretty much call Lance like I don't know if this is even proper, a non-proprietary Zach Bagans. During Lance's antagonizing bits, his crew's kind of panicking because of the girl's hair getting pulled, and they kind of think they have enough footage, so they all want to leave the building, but guess what? They're locked in.
All right, folks, we are about to initiate lockdown. My friend Kenny here, the building's caretaker, will be doing us the honors of sealing us inside. Thanks very much, man. We'll see you at 6 a.m.
Okay, 6 a.m. sharp. Good luck.
Of course. We just saw that like 10 minutes ago. They sit around for a while and have one of the characters go and grab all the cameras they set up around the building. He notices a window that they talked about earlier ended up opening, and then he just goes missing for most of the film. This film isn't very fun to talk about. That guy that went to go get the cameras is missing. Oh no. And the groundskeeper hasn't showed up at the agreed upon time, 6 a.m. So after this, the group kind of starts to panic. They run around looking for another exit, and this is where we learn that the building is able to almost shift around somehow, like rooms will become other rooms, doors will lead to different hallways than they did before. Noticing that one door that was an exit is no longer there, they run back to the lobby and try to wait it out longer. One of them freaks out and tries to break the door down.
What the hell are you doing, TC?
What does it look like I'm doing?
We came in this way, right?
Hell yeah.
Yeah. This is the lobby. Yeah.
This doesn't make any sense. This is the way we came in. It's just another hallway. I don't know.
We must have gotten turned around in here. We must be on the other side of the building or something.
Lance?
So are those the same doors?
Realizing everything is going wrong at this point because the front door now leads to more asylum, they run around being messed around with for about an hour. That's the movie. Not only does the building shift around though, the time is somehow dilated in some sort of way.
This doesn't make any sense. This is f***ed up. I checked the sunrise times last night. It should have been bright by 7:45. It's still night out.
This sort of cracked me up. Honestly, who checks sunrise times? I get if you're going to a new area, but sunrise times? I don't know, a little strange. Just made me laugh. So let me explain why this movie, at this point, why it sucks. Running around in circles, doing nothing, with very, very rare scary moments, if you can even call them scary, while the group is just complaining and crying and whining and being overall very annoying. This is a very unenjoyable part of the movie. I don't think it picks back up till the end either. I mean, like, I understand entirely that this group is stuck inside this asylum and they're going to die, but I don't want to watch people complain and walk around aimlessly in circles for fucking 40, 45, 50 minutes. Nothing scary happens either. Like, there are very sparse moments, I guess you could say, but it doesn't all start happening till like maybe the last 20, 30 minutes of the film. So there's a full section inside this movie where they're just walking around and bitching at each other, kind of having infighting.
Do we go there? Wait, Lance.
No. TC, you knew where we were going. You said...
I didn't say anything. Don't put it on me.
No, you said you know where the ladder was.
No, I said there was a ladder. I didn't tell you where.
Okay, but is it this end? It doesn't matter. Was it over here?
I saw from the outside. God damn it, man.
But none of the characters matter or grow or develop or do anything throughout this movie. You're just watching parody characters who are upplayed in that way, bitching to each other in a more bitchy version. It's bad. Not only do they walk around in circles though, but due to the time dilation, they're stuck in here for like 50, 60, 70 hours or whatever, several days. So we get to watch them sleep several times throughout the movie, and there's like fast forwarding that's happened straight out of Paranormal Activity with the camera watching them with fucking night vision. It's... Ooh. The worst part about it is that you also never feel sympathy, which is a big problem in horror in general. Is if you can't get a chance to actually feel sympathy towards a character because a character is kind of a joke. I guess you don't ever actually hate any of the characters enough to want them to die, other than Lance. Lance is funny. I'd say he's probably the only character in this that also has any sort of character progression too. The monotony of this is finally broken after I can't even tell you how long though, with this.
Listen, guys, this is pointless, all right? If we were to find it, the range of the mother walkie-talkie.
That was that! What?
Holy shit. How come you're in here?
Now, I can't say that this part is scary, but it did kind of harken back to that period of 2000s to 2010s that I look back fondly upon because of my age. The movie didn't age well, of course, but... it is a little bit nostalgic. I kind of like it for for that reason. After the scary moments, or I guess only one scary moment, the guy being launched in the air isn't particularly scary. They just run around scared and aimless for a bit longer. There's definitely some more interactions that they get in between this, like finding the tech guy from earlier that went missing, and he's now in a hospital gown. The characters also all develop like hospital bracelets when they wake up one morning, or never really morning anymore, is it? I found this a pretty cool moment though, them having hospital bracelets on and slowly becoming insane, like they need to be admitted into the hospital forever. The big problem is though, other than one scare in this film, every bit of tension that's built up is always going to end in a spooky demonic face, and the really dumb editing effect with this glitchy I don't know if they were aware of how bad their CGI looked, or they weren't confident in the practical effects they were using, but this glitchy effect is one of the worst things in found footage. It genuinely annoys me because of how pointless it is. But yeah, they run around, characters get stranded and die. They run into the crazy tech guy who's completely lost his mind. And it was at this point in the movie where I was like kind of looking down at how long was left with the movie. Nevertheless, with 2 characters left because the hospital gown guy just throws himself down an elevator shaft, the 2 characters left, Lance and the girl, who I could never recall that name. Who knows what her name is? Does she even have a name? They find themselves in the tunnels that were shown in the beginning of the movie, which just felt like the perfect place to end this. Like, you knew that's where they would want to end the movie. Down there, while speaking to each other, this room, this tunnel fills with smoke, and the girl disappears from Lance. Then Lance is left alone. We see him start to completely break from reality and go insane after being stuck in the pitch black, running from ghosts for days on end. You'd expect this moment to be scary or emotional, where Lance loses his mind, or they'd at least try to save this with the only character that you actually kind of care about, even though you don't actually care about him, you just find him funny and entertaining, which I guess can lead to a little bit of connection. But no, this is probably the funniest part of the movie, and I don't even know if I could show it. I'll try to blur it out or something. So, Lance, all alone, in this dark tunnel, tired, scared, and hungry, mostly hungry, decides to bash a rat with a pipe, then proceeds to eat it raw. Just bites into it. I doubt after only a few days of you being hungry, you'd be willing to do this. Of course not. Your body's gonna get used to fasting and be fine, but I guess he was losing his mind entirely, but it caught me by surprise. And I remember, I've watched this movie like 12 years ago. I just completely forgot about it, I guess. Watching him smash this rat and just start eating it really fucking cracked me up. I liked it. It was gross, but it was funny. You'd probably assume that an out-of-nowhere moment where our lead character starts eating a raw, dead rat would be the end of the movie, right? Well, of course not. We have to get some random dumb shit thrown in to finish his ascent to madness, and an ending where we see a little bit of satanic stuff. Pretty unremarkable. I would have just ended it after the rat. I guess you did have to show the doctor demons at some point, because that was what started the beginning. The intro of Dr. whatever the German his last name was. I guess the movie does end with Lance Preston. Lance Preston signing off. He's like, this was Grave Encounter. We're signing off or something, which was, I guess, cool.
Grave Encounters. Lance Preston. Signing off.
But yeah, that was Grave Encounters. A movie that aged absolutely putridly. I don't hate the movie, but at the same time, I didn't get much enjoyment out of it. I didn't remember the movie either, but I did look back on it fondly. I was like, hey, I kind of liked that when I watched it. I don't know why now. Maybe it was the fact that it aged very badly. And maybe those scares were a bit scarier 13 years ago. As far as found footage horror movies go, though, this one is a bit interesting, adding parody and, I guess, a sense of documentary purposes, because they're documenting their ghost hunting inside of this asylum. Let's be honest, we don't really need any more of this in horror, and I don't think we did in 2011. Even given the year this movie came out and the things that maybe audiences were thinking were scary, especially teenagers that they might have been targeting with this movie, I don't know if I could be too lenient on it. I've recently gone back to films on this YouTube channel from that time period, being around 2011. Maybe even went back and watched some of them on my own, not even making YouTube videos on them. And they're just as good as I remember they were. I don't know, I'm gonna give this like, I don't like it that much, but maybe like a 4 out of 10. Here's the rating scale. Let's give it a 4 rats out of 10. That's a good one. That leads into the next film pretty well, too. Moving on to my purpose of recording and writing this script, though, we're going to go to Grave Encounters 2, which I have never seen this movie, and I don't even know if I knew it existed or not. I think I may have seen that there was a sequel to this movie, but then read that it was bad, so I never gave it a chance. But let's try to give it a fair shake, even if the story is entirely revolving around the first movie. Grave Encounters 2, the second and thankfully last entry into the Grave Encounters films. This movie works as like a direct sequel by the same exact directors and writers, I'm pretty sure, if not most of them. Before you get your hopes up, though, I think this movie has some hot buttholes, so it's for completely different reasons, though. Let's get into it. This movie came out very quickly after the first one, like within a year or so, which could explain the very bad storytelling and all the pointless scenes that I feel like were injected into this film. We get to the tie-in of the first movie pretty early, when at the very beginning of this movie we see YouTubers, like, what, 13 years ago or so, whenever this movie came out, so it's like 13-year ago YouTube, talking about and reviewing Grave Encounters. I'm sure some of these people are actually real YouTubers, and these were real YouTube videos. They're like, hey, can we use your footage? But then the very last one is a kid named Alex, which is always strange for me when a character inside of a movie uses my name. I don't really like it. I don't like it. I don't like hearing my name, especially when the person with my name sucks. At least make that person pretty cool. Like me. Alex reviews the movie and he's like, yeah, this movie's fake. And then for some reason they try to insinuate like people back then actually believed that this movie was real and could have been real, which nobody thought any found footage movies were real by 2009. Nobody. Maybe kids? After this, though, we get to meet Alex and his little fraternity bros. They party and do some shit, and we learn about Alex's fascination with Grave Encounters. He's like, oh, wow, this looks like it might actually be real. So the tie-in to the first movie is that Alex learns that Grave Encounters cast all went missing, and this turns out to be much more real than everyone thought. We also get into some weird shit about Alex as a wannabe director, which really only plays into the end of this movie. We get a lot of scenes of him shooting a really bad horror movie that feel very pointless. All the friends that go with him on this little journey to go see the asylum to try to prove if Grave Encounters was real, they're all a part of his little filmmaking experience, like his girlfriend who's like the lead actress in his movie, and his buddies that are all helping him record and do sound and shit. Every single one of these people, though, is very unlikable due to that like frat bro kind of attitude. It doesn't really put me off or make me uncomfortable. I don't get offended by the shit that they say, them wanting to say silly little things, locker room talk, or anything. That doesn't bother me. I don't really care. Do what you want. It is a little strange seeing how much the social consciousness of, especially the media, has changed since this time period, though. When you hear like F-bombs, which it's kind of silly that I have to call it that, even though I'm describing something, are being dropped in this movie, or just like the R word, which, I mean, isn't truly that offensive. Does anybody care about that one? I know there'll be crybabies who do. Just shut up. Hearing things like that really throw you off. You're like, what the fuck? Did I just get teleported back to the 2010s? But the entire introduction of this is very boring. Like, they go and visit somebody that was family to Lance Prescott, his mom or somebody, and she's losing it with dementia. It's very, very boring. The only interesting part is how much the social climate has changed since then. That was the only part that I really wrote down. Some off-color jokes made me giggle a little bit, I guess. Him filming this movie is interspersed with him researching this stuff. And we get one interesting little moment here where his computer randomly prints something off, almost like the hospital or asylum is trying to bring him there. And he goes and talks to the guy at the very introduction of Grave Encounters that was talking about how it was real, boards him with like spy glasses. It gets him to say some shit. After hearing what this guy has to say, like, yeah, so what if it's real? You won't be able to prove it, punk. Get lost. They decide to head to Canada and go to the asylum themselves. With this, we get a road trip scene, and it's off there to Canada. They show up at the asylum during the day, and we get to notice that there's a lot of security around the area now. When they get busted by him, what do you think they do?
This is it. So check it out. Shit. What? No. Give me the tape. Give me the tape.
If you thought that they would commit aggravated assault with a deadly weapon by using their car to almost run over the police officer, well, he's not a police officer, he's a security guard, security officer. then you'd be right. After running away, they wait until nighttime, then head back, sneak in again. This time, they add on breaking and entering to that list of fun charges that are international now. Let's get started with this now that they're entering the hospital. This group is going in under the assumption that this asylum is genuinely haunted, and the events of Grave Encounters, as fucking stupid as they are, were real. Why would you go into a hospital that traps you inside and shifts around and f***s with time where you're gonna starve and eat rats? I don't know. If I saw Lance Preston eating rats and I thought that was real, I wouldn't go in there. They do anyway. Of course, they're going to go around and set up cameras just like the first crew did. Things happen a bit quicker for this crew, though, because after setting up and doing a bit of ghost hunting, guess who? The security guard finds them because they cut the chain to the door and just left it there. It is a little fake out funny moment where you're thinking it's going to be a scary demon, but it's just the security guard, though.
Did you get it? Did you get the cover? Yeah, man, I got it. Alex, man, I cannot believe it.
Okay, what was that?
Big problem. After the characters get busted by the security guard and he's trying to get them all to leave, they're like, wait, we gotta go get our cameras and such. And they hear a spooky noise while one of their boys is off going to get cameras upstairs. Security guard goes up there, we hear some gunshots go off, and oh my god, he's missing. They then argue amongst themselves for a little while, like, hey guys, that security guard's gone. Something in the hospital just got him. Let's split up and grab our cameras. They split up. I do not know why you do this. This is not Scooby-Doo. This leads to the Asian guy, the token minority of the group, being blasted out of a window. Not too long after that, because the minority got killed, the girl of the group, which I don't know another word to use for that that's more politically correct or can go on YouTube, the loose girl of the group, it's always a horror trope, she gets left off on her own and taken out by the ghosts. I guess it's kind of funny that all horror movies do that, so they did it, but that's done by every movie, so. It's after the characters get away, and those two are dead, I think. Maybe they're not. They are able to somehow leave the hospital, but this is when the hospital, I'm gonna keep calling it a hospital or an asylum, I'm just gonna mix them up. It gets a new superpower, a new special, spooky, supernatural power here.
What's your name? Do you want to play a game with me? Do you want to?
By letting them drive back to their hotel room and get their stuff, then go into the elevator, and right as soon as the elevator reaches the lobby floor, I guess there's a maid that looks at them silly, or like, oh, that's what's gonna happen, but you can already call that that's going to happen. I mean, it's so obvious. The elevator leads them to the tunnel.
We made it out of the building. We fucking made it!
The elevator leads them to the tunnel back to the thing, yeah. They're stuck in the hospital. Not only can it shift around and change and shit, which we learn about later, but it can pretend to be the roads and highways and hotels and fucking Walmarts, I'm assuming. What do Canadians have? Like Walmart? What's a Canadian version of a Walmart? Canada has Walmart, destroying towns everywhere. Back in the tunnels where the first movie ended is where our team's left to run into no one other than Zach Bagans, or Lance Preston. I don't even remember his name now. He looks a little different in this movie, though.
Turn that light off! You guys help us!
So, like I said, two of them got killed off, so now you're just left with, like, the annoying guy that has a funny speech impediment or something like that. Maybe he doesn't have a speech impediment, but sounds funny. Then you have Alex, and then his girlfriend. I think that's the only people left now, because the Asian guy and the Lucy lady got taken. He looks a little different in this film, though. When I saw him, my instant reaction was Rat Man.
You're Lance Preston. Sean Rogerson, the actor, right?
You've been alive this whole time? What's he doing? What's he doing?
Hi, buddy. Aren't you my friend?
And that's going to be his new nickname for the film. So he's been here for what our characters, Alex and them, think is like 9 years. I think the original Grave Encounters movie was supposed to have actually been shot in the 2000s, but it came out in 2011. So he's just been here for 9 years, surviving off of rats and trying to figure out how to get out of this insane asylum. I think it's mentioned that, like, while they're in this rat man's little hidey hole, little rat hole hideout, that time's moving differently for him in there because he's marking down what he thinks are days, and it's only been like a few months, like 6 or 9 months for him, whereas for them it's been 9 years. Not sure how that works. Doesn't really matter. Alex's friends end up forming a rat pack with the rat man, though, and they have a plan to get out of there. Because rat man's been, you know, mapping this place down, roaming around like a rat, scurrying around all the dark, shifting corners of the hospital. And he has a map that can kind of tell which places shift and but he's really focused on this door, this red door, which is just a door in the middle of a room. It has chains around it. Guess what? When one of the characters died, don't know which one, they lost their bolt cutters, so they have to go and traverse this, or scurry around and traverse through the little rat holes with Ratman to find their bolt cutters. While hunting for their bag with the bolt cutters in it, Ratman gives us a solid explanation to the spirit realm of this building. So the doors and rooms are all switching around like a puzzle pieces into specific, like, at specific times. I like the explanation, I guess. It's a bit more interesting than the first movie where they're just kind of running about. I don't really care, though. Nothing of interest happens until the characters go to sleep, though, and of course, you know they're gonna have to fucking go to sleep in a Grave Encounters movie. They only slept like 10 times in the last film. They gotta do it once here. Instead of, like Paranormal Activity, a spooky invisible demon messing with them, though, unsuspecting people in scary ways, well, we get a demon holding a camera, filming them, which is pretty dumb. And this isn't the last we'll see of that. It gets more stupid. In order to explain how much more stupid this is, stupider fits. There's a demon holding the camera, filming the people like demons often do. I don't know, sometimes my webcam just flies around my room, and I don't think that's the NSA. The dumb kid, the weird way he talks, he goes off on his own for some reason with the camera recording his final message to his parents. I don't know why in a building that shifts and shapes around, you'd go off on your own to a bathroom that could be on the other side of the building, off on your own with demons. During this, we learn that the demons and ghosts aren't the only enemy here, because Ratman comes in and beats him to death with something, like a pole or something. Ratman then runs off with the bolt cutters, and it's here we learn when the ghosty demon is following him around, recording him. It's kind of funny, he turns back into his Lance Preston character, because that's not his actual name, he has another name, but he's Ratman, Lance Preston, fucking Zach Bagans.
It's been a long time since I've been a camera. Might be a little rusty. Might be a little rusty. I'm Lance Preston, and welcome to another episode of Grave Encounters. Welcome to another episode of Grave.
Puts on his old t-shirt and is talking to the camera like he's in Grave Encounters again, while kind of that being interspersed with him maniacally laughing, which I kind of enjoy. He's the best part of this movie by far. I love him. He's an awesome character. He was the best character in the first movie for different reasons, obviously. But in this one, him being the rat guy is pretty funny. He goes and talks to a room and asks the demons and spirits what they want. And they're like, you gotta finish the movie. You gotta finish the movie. You gotta grab all the cameras and equipment and finish the film. He goes and unlocks this door and enters through it, and nothing happens. We cut back to Alex and his girlfriend, who are alone now, realizing that their friend just got killed by Ratman. And they run around trying to chase him down to get their shit back. And that's when this film kind of blows my mind. Somehow it manages to get more stupid. It manages to get more stupider. I think that's where I was meant to make that joke. The kids manage and find the doctors and have to hide in a closet from them. And we see the doctors doing some satanic stuff and sacrificing a newborn baby or something. Then they see them and we get the demon face on the nurse. They run away and then manage to get teleported somehow to the Rat Man. If I'm talking like this, it's because I'm just talking off memory and I hate this movie. So right when they're about to get caught by the demon face lady, they get teleported to the Rat Man, and we get the final showdown. The Rat Down. Final boss fight. The Rat. I have to explain this dumb shit now, so let's let's get to it, I guess. The hospital keeps telling them to finish this movie, right? And bring them more people to the hospital. So the point of releasing the movie is to get more people to come to the hospital to ghost hunt so it can then eat their souls. They want it to get notoriety, you know? It's during this little bit of information that a bunch of cameras are like having ghosts go around and film them, which is spooky, dude. Whoa, cameras on their own filming them. So you see a bunch of cameras filming around them while they're arguing with Ratman, but then a portal opens up in the wall and sucks the Ratman out, and Alex is left alone, doesn't have to fight the Ratman, and it's like, Alex, you gotta finish this movie, bud. Hey, bud, you gotta... Oh, I almost went reggae there, little Jamaican. Can't do that. That would be considered insensitive. Fuck, bud, you gotta finish this film for us, bud. So Alex is like, I'm gonna do it. And he grabs a camera and beats this fucking girl's head in. He just bashes her head in. And is like, I'm gonna finish the movie. And with that, he enters the door and boom, he appears on a highway. And police pick him up. And then the movie cuts off for a bit. And then you see Alex and the director guy from the beginning of the first movie. And he's like, yeah, man, this movie's awesome. Grave Encounters 2's coming out. And everything that you're about to see is totally fake, bro. And he's like, Alex is the director of this real up-and-coming star.
So, Jerry, can you tell us how Grave Encounters 2 came together?
I mean, look, I was as surprised as anybody when this kid comes walking into my office to tell me that he's just filmed a sequel to Grave Encounters. I mean, as it turns out, Alex here is quite a talented director, and I really think he's got a bright future ahead of him. I mean, this thing has got everything you've just seen is fake.
There is a cool little moment after this ends, though, where they flash a little, some numbers on the screen. I ended up noticing that, looked it up. It was the coordinates of the actual hospital. So maybe there was a work-in where, like, they really did film at this hospital. I think they did. I think it's the location of the filming. Maybe not, though, because when I looked the place up, it looked like it was falling to shit, like in complete disrepair. Having the coordinates there and trying to make it seem real again in the end was a cool little fake out. Really lame, though. This movie was really bad. I'm not sure if it was worse than the first film, though. But the first film is much funnier. I take that back. Ratman is hilarious. I love that guy. But he's funny in both films. Both of the movies start off really slow. The first film has a much better first act, though. They never have any actual scary moments in either one of them. I guess the second film might have had a better time with horror. I'm not sure. The first movie, when there's this guy without a tongue that pops out, that was kind of like it jump scared me. A little spooky, I guess. There was a really dumb scene in this film where a guy kind of comes out of a wall that's really stupid. I'll show you that if I can, somewhere in this video. None of the characters, including Alex had a cool little character development where you kind of figured by the time he entered that elevator in the hotel or left that he was going to become evil and like use this footage to become a famous director or something. I already called that out. It was very, very obvious. If I'm sitting there like, oh yeah, this is going to happen. But Lance Prescott, or Preston? Fucking Ratman. Ratman is the best thing. First film, second film, Ratman's awesome. And I think because he's the only thing that's saving this, like I couldn't stop laughing when he was on the screen for the most part. Watching this guy be crazy and eat rats is the highlight of this film and the last film. He's a very endearing character, even if he's crazy and wants to f all these people over. I like the Ratman. I was rooting for him whenever he knocked that kid out. I like him a lot more than I like the kids. I think this movie would be a 10 out of 10 if Ratman would have survived and became the director rather than Alex. But instead, I'm going to give this movie like a 2 out of 10 rats because my guy wasn't featured prominently enough for me. Anyway, that was Grave Encounters 2. Both of the Grave Encounters films, actually. I had an okay time watching them. Boy, oh fucking boy, did they drag on. I'd say the second film didn't feel as long as the first, which is a good thing. Maybe I like it more. I don't know, I give it 2 out of 10 rats, though. My ratings aren't really real. It's hard to judge 2 piles of shit and choose a favorite. I'd be fine without either of them. Anyway, that was Grave Encounters. I don't know why I covered this. I'm not sure what the next movies I'm going to cover. I have another video written for those Unfriended films, but I don't know if I want to cover them. They were just another one, and when I watched these, I was like, you know, that's a film series that came out around the same time. Maybe I'll make that video next. Anyway, if you guys enjoyed the video, drop me a like and subscribe to the channel. I just endured way too long of Grave Encounters, and I learned again that Alex from the past, not the guy in the movie, me, is a person to give judgment on films. I'll never trust myself from the past again. I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch movies that I really love to see if I like them that much. But until then, I'll see you in the next one.